Hello there folks, back again for another video. In this one, I'm going to be continuing my look at Warhammer Age of Sigmar and the new edition of the game, and why I still think it's one of the best ways for you to dive into playing a Games Workshop game, a Warhammer game at the moment, and also a fantastic fantasy world. One of the additions to the new edition of the game, and it's something that has been born out of the release of Warhammer 40,000 10th edition and Combat Patrol, is the addition of the Spearhead game mode for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And this is the first book that came out. This is the one that came with the starter box, well, not the starter box, but the big limited edition Skaven type box set, but you can also buy this separately alongside the cards and such that I'll show you later. Spearhead as a game mode is an interesting one, in that it's a very good introduction to the world of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. That makes use of, as you can see here, the Spearhead boxes that you see. So effectively, you grab a box of models and then you just grab the rules from online, although they're also available as part of faction packs, and you just dive in and start playing the game. This kind of shows you the kind of breakdown of all of it as well anyway, I suppose. So, yeah, you pick yourself a Spearhead army and you find the rules online. They're all free over on Warhammer Community. I'll make sure to go and put a link in the description down below so you can follow through to that. Then, as part of Fire and Jade, at least, you will have 2 battlefields to pick from. There is one in Akshi and there is one in Gairan, and they come with their own associated set of cards. There are the Gairan cards, the Akshi cards, and there are the Gairan ones. Where are we? There they are. There's the Gairan ones there. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about what these do in a minute. Beyond that, you will then go through and you'll pick certain aspects of your army that will kind of customize things, but stick within the same sort of selection of options that everyone can choose from, and then you just dive in and start playing the game effectively. One of the nice things about this game mode is the way that they've kind of set it up. It uses the standard core rules for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is great, but it plays around with the need to dive into a little bit more of the intricacies that come with playing the full match play experience, and instead adopts the use of the Spearhead decks with twists and battle tactics alongside battle plans. So one of the nice things about this game is that all the objectives are fixed and you'll find them on the boards themselves, as you can see there. So you can see them all demonstrated on the Gairan and Akshi boards there. The game lasts only 4 turns rather than 5, as you'd have with normal Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And one of the nice things that they've put into the game as well that I think is really good is you don't necessarily need a lot of terrain in order to play. So these are just the ones that they've done for Fire and Jade. But they've also added in this rule about reinforcements, and you'll see that as we look through more of the spearheads that are included in this book. This book covers spearheads for all of the existing armies effectively in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. But because some armies come with units that aren't necessarily going to last very long in such a small confined space on the tabletop, you are able to bring them back as reinforcements, so you'll be able to bring them back onto the tabletop to fight once again. As you can see, here's a look at a Spearhead battle setup. As you can see, quite a small space, and it means that combat is pretty much happening all the time, and there's a lot of tactics that you have to dive into when it comes to maneuvering and all that kind of stuff as well. But because all the objectives are so close together as well, you've got a really nice opportunity to dive in and sort of play around with the game tactically and make the best choices in that moment, etc. So yeah, this is the kind of core battle plan for Fire and Jade, which is the one that comes with the box set. You'll set up based on the different boards. You'll dive in, start playing the battle rounds, and you'll see how you score objectives and victory points. So you'll score 1 victory point if you control at least 1 objective, 1 victory point if you control 2 or more, 1 victory point if you control more objectives, and 1 for each battle type that you completed this turn. And now seems like a good opportunity to talk about the battle tactics cards themselves. So one of the things that's quite nice about this game is you get those cards that are that suit the realm that you're going to be fighting in. And then each player is going to get a deck of these cards, which are called battle tactics cards. So you will draw 3 of these at the start of the round, and on them, rather than commands being something that you pay for with command points like you would do in normal match play, instead you can either choose to use on your turn or in successive turns either the battle tactic at the top or the command at the bottom. So a battle tactic will always be something that will allow you to score a victory point, and you can see there are different variants there. So there's cut off the head, control the bayonet days, hold ground, raid, take their flanks, war of attrition, etc. That's all grand. And then at the bottom, you have a command. So if you can't achieve this battle tactic on turn 2, for example, but you see that there's a good choice to use countercharge to maybe destroy an enemy or stop them from getting to somewhere in your half of the battlefield or whatever, maybe you want to use it for that. But regardless of which one you use, that card is gone. So you have to make an interesting tactical decision about whether or not you're going to aim for the battle tactic in order to score those victory points, or if you're going to use the command on the bottom, and vice versa. So if you use Rise to the Challenge, well, you're not going to be able to do hold ground now and all that kind of thing. One of the nice things they've put into the game as well is that you still have the double turn element of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but if you take the double turn, then you can still use the command abilities, but you can't score the battle tactics that you see on the top, as you can see here. So if the player who went second in the previous battle round wins the priority roll and chooses to go first, it is called seizing the initiative. When a player seizes the initiative, they do not draw any battle tactics cards for the battle round unless they're the underdog, and the difference in victory points between the 2 players is 5 or greater. So it's an interesting twist on sort of how it all sets up, which I think is quite interesting. Oh, sorry, and a slight change there. You just don't draw the cards, which I think is cool when it comes to playing the game. Very good. But yeah, so as you can see, there's some really nice ways for you to play around with the game tactically. And obviously, one of the nice things about Spearhead as a game system is that obviously this is ripe for expansion, because they could just bring out another battle board, another double-sided battle board that had, let's say, Shaman and Gur on it to do the Realm of Metal and the Realm of Beasts. And you could just dive in and create new decks and new objectives, and obviously new spearheads over time as well. What's also quite nice about Spearhead is that you have these twist cards. So these are linked to the realm that you're fighting in. So if you're fighting on the realm of Akshi, what you do at the start of the turn, you draw one of these cards and you see what it did. So this one is Let the Blood Flow. Khorne's presence is felt in this battlefield, and he demands blood be spilled in his name. Each player scores 1 extra victory point at the end of their turn for each enemy unit destroyed in that turn. In addition, if one of the players is the underdog, so they were one of the players who was behind in victory points, they would get to pick a friendly unit on the battlefield to be frenzied, to add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by them during this battle round. So there's an interesting sort of twist every single turn that will affect everybody, but then affect the underdog even more. So even though you might be behind at that particular point in time, you could find an opportunity to get back into the fight very, very quickly. Being the underdog in Spearhead, and I think in Age of Sigmar in general, is very powerful. And so it's something that you want to kind of manage, I suppose you'd say, in your games. There is some benefits to becoming the underdog on a turn to then get better later on in the flow of the battle. But there you can see some of the Gairan twists as well that you get from turn to turn. There we go. So a game of Spearhead will probably last you between an hour and an hour and a half, I would say. A lot of people have kind of gone with this idea of Spearhead is a game that you can play on your lunch break. Unless you have massively extended lunch breaks, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. Maybe if you were really up on the rules and the game in general, you could do that. But I think it's more suited to a lazy afternoon with your friends, or sometime down the pub if you want to set up the board on a beer table or something and just have some beers, have some fun, and just dive into the game itself. So Yeah, I think it's a genuinely quick and fun and interesting game to play. Played a few games with my partner. It's been really good. And I can't wait to play a little bit more of it now that I have a few more armies. I think that's one of the other things that's quite nice about this game is that it encourages you to go out and pick up different armies to just try. So say, for example, you wanted to do Stormcast Eternals, maybe try and find Indrasta's Spearhead and play games with that. And then if you didn't necessarily want to build a larger Stormcast Eternals army, maybe go and pick up Cities of Sigmar or Seraphon and just paint up those models and have them ready to play on the tabletop. This also kind of gives you a good idea of how each of these different spearheads is made up. So you'll always have a general and then a set of units that will be available as part of the box set. You'll have an army trait or a battle trait, that will affect everybody in your army, and then you'll pick one of these and then one of those that will go to your general. And then these are the specific spearhead sheets for use in the game. One of the other things they've taken out of Spearhead to kind of make it a bit more viable for new players is a lot of the army rules and spells and prayers are instead attached to characters. This isn't a particularly good example of that, but let's see if I can find a spell casting character. I mean, I guess this kind of works. The Asharan Soulscry there has a hero phase ability, which allows them to do something there. So instead of spells being like something that everybody can do, they're kind of everything's tied into the war scroll, as you can see. One of the good things about Spearhead that I think sets it apart from this is actually a good one, the Sylvaneth. So as you can see, she's got her spell there, Verdurous Harmony. You can cast it on a 7+ and use it as a hero ability there rather than just a normal spell, which is cool. But yeah, so one of the things that I quite like about Spearhead as opposed to Combat Patrol is that everything seems to have been really well thought out when it comes to the rules for each of these armies. And it genuinely feels like time has been put into making it so that each of these armies feels like they match up to their characters in the lore and the way that an army plays in the lore, whilst also retaining a lot of what makes the faction a faction, if you know what I mean. So Skaven feel like they've got loads of swarming abilities. Obviously, you can see there's the reinforcement symbol on the clan rats, so you can bring them back once during the battle if they get taken out early in it. But also, a lot of the armies that you get in Spearhead benefit from a lot of the same abilities that you'll eventually learn to play with in normal match play games. So, for example, with the Forces of Chaos, if we look at the Slave to Darkness one, the Eye of the Gods table here is one that actually, that's a mechanic that exists in the full match play army for the Slaves to Darkness, or Narrative, or Path to Glory, or whatever. But it's simplified in Spearhead so that you learn the idea behind it and you learn about kind of like how the army works without feeling like your force is entirely separate as an entity from the eventual build or thing that you go, and the tactics that you need to learn when you get into it. So when you dive into playing Spearhead, you're almost learning about the game, the full game, while playing Spearhead, which I think is a really nice addition. And that comes through in the battle tactics as well. So you learn what countercharge does, so that when you dive into the real game, countercharge works in exactly the same way. You learn how let's have a look at some. Let's see if we can find. You learn how redeploy works in Spearhead, and then you see the same ability used in match play games, and you go, so that's what it means. I just need to pay a command point for it now. And I think there's a really nice crossover between the mechanics of Spearhead and regular match play games of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, so that it acts as a learning experience. But you could easily just play Spearhead on its own, I think, and just dive in and just keep playing loads of small games. I think it's tactical enough to make it worth it. And as I said, I think the world is their oyster when it comes to where they could take Spearhead in the near future as a game. But yeah, it's a really fun concept, and it's one that's been, I guess you'd say, perfected since Combat Patrol came out for Warhammer 40,000. I wouldn't put it past Games Workshop to do something similar with Combat Patrol in the future to try and make it a little bit more appealing to new players. I think the balance is just right, as I say, when it comes to Spearhead, and I hope to see them take it in a new direction, which is cool. The other thing I really like about this book, I mean, obviously you can find all of these online, or you could download or you could get the faction pack, and you could use the cards from that, or you could download the app and play around with on there. But I really like the layout of the book. So it gives you the fluff, and it tells you what's in your force, which is always good. Because you don't have to WYSIWYG everything nowadays in Age of Sigmar as well. You could kind of build these models however you like, and then just use them matching the war scrolls on here, and no one would really bat an eyelid, as long as your gluttons look like gluttons or whatever. That's fine. But once you've done this, once you've read this and made note of it, and once you've chosen one of these, and once you've chosen one of these, what's quite nice about it is that if you're then playing Ogre More Tribes at the tabletop and you don't have access to the cards, but you did the book, you just go, okay, well, everything's on these 2 pages. And you just have everything you need to start playing the game here, and you don't need to flick back and forward through the books. Maybe occasionally you'll go, what was my battle trait again? Oh, that's what it is. And then you go straight back to this and just start playing. So if you and a friend have these books, or if you have the cards and one of you has the book or whatever, just slap this down, start having fun with it. As I say, I think there is plenty of fun to be had when it comes to Spearhead in the future. And I hope to see them do more realms, more battle trait cards, and all that kind of good stuff as well. And hopefully this could be one of those really nice entry points for somebody into Age of Sigmar in general. Just go and pick up one of the box sets. You can get them for very cheap, mostly from a lot of the independent retailers out there. And dive in, have some fun, paint up some models. And if you don't like it, well, it's not cost you the earth to build yourself a fun little army to play your games with, which is always nice to see. I will point out, obviously, as I was looking at there, the Spearhead book does come with the rules at the back of it. So if you want to dive in and learn about the core rules of the game, that is all there as well. This is also available as a PDF online. Also, I think the Spearhead rules are available online as well. I will check that, and I'll put it in the comments if it is true. But if you're somebody who's interested in getting into Age of Sigmar and you want to try something a little bit differently, just go and grab yourself the Spearhead stuff and start having some fun. And this is always good as well. It actually has a glossary at the back of the core rules for the game in the kind of starting version of the game as well. So you've got some really nice reference material there too, which is good to see. But yeah, make sure to have a look into Spearhead. If you have been tempted by Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but you're not quite sure whether or not you want to stick your neck on the line for a whole army, instead, maybe go and check out one of the Spearheads that you can get from Games Workshop. As I say, buy them from your friendly local gaming stores. They will have plenty, I'm sure. And from there, get stuck in, have some fun, play some games in an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you want to take a little bit longer, and just maybe bash out 3 or 4 games over the course of an evening, I would suggest. But yeah, make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think of Spearhead, what you thought of Fire and Jade, where you think they should go next. I would always love to hear what you have to say. Even if a lot of you are Middle-earth fans, maybe you could have been tempted over to something a little bit more fantastical with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I'll be back with another video very, very soon. Bye for now. Bye.